I am Dr.R.Srinivasan, working as Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering at SRM Valliyamai Engineering College, Kattangulattur. Today we are going to discuss about the transmission systems in the automobile engineering sectors. What is meant by transmission system? Is a mechanism or set of components used to transmit the mechanical power from power source to the driven machinery or wheel. The primary purpose is to control the speed, torque, and direction of the power to suit different operating conditions. In the transmission system, there is a different types as to be used to transmit the power from the source to the driven system, either by means of clutch or gearbox or drive shafts. Today's topics we are going to discuss about along these three transmission devices. We are going to concentrate on the clutch devices used in the automotive systems. What is meant by clutch? The clutch is a mechanical device which is used to engage or disengaging the power in an automobile. So there are different types of clutches there. One is frictional clutch, hydraulic clutch, electromagnetic clutch. In a frictional clutch, we have the four types. One is the single plate clutch, multi-plate clutch, cone clutches, centrifugal clutches. The main principle behind the frictional clutch, which is used as a frictional plates and applying force is used to transmit the power between the engine shaft to the driven shaft. In hydraulic clutch, the liquid or the oil has to be used for transmitting or the execution of the clutch action. Then the electromagnetic clutch, the electromagnetic field is to be used to execute the clutch actions. So here we are going to discuss about the single plate clutch working principle in detail. In a single plate clutch, the main components is clutch plate. It is using as only one set of clutch plates, that is called as the frictional unit, and then flywheel, pressure plate, clutch pad, fulcrum point, clutch hub, and spring. The main purpose of this clutch spring, which is used to hold the clutch plate to the flywheel. In general, the clutch plate is always to be engaged condition, and while we are going to disengaging the option, we are using as the pedal to disconnect the power transmission. In the single plate clutch, there is a two main operation is to be considered to transfer the power from drive shaft to driven shaft. First one, the clutches are in under the engaged condition. Then only the power has to be transferred from the driving shaft to the driven. So under the engaged condition, the spring pushes the pressure plate against the clutch disc. They are tightly between the pressure plate and flywheel. Due to the tightening of these two elements, the power has to be transferred from flywheel to the driven unit. While the driver is to press the clutch pedal, then the spring is to be releases its pressure or the tension force over the frictional plate surfaces. Then this friction plates moves towards this direction, which causes to release the pressure or the external force by means of the spring here. Automatically this spring plate or the clutch plate will release from its engagement between the flywheel and the pressure plate, which causes there is no power has to be transferred from the flywheel to driven shaft. So this is the main working principle of the single plate clutch. In the single plate clutch, we are using only one pair of the frictional material or frictional disc in the single plate clutch. In another type, it is a multi plate clutch as shown in figure. Here, the number of more than one set of frictional plate used to transmit the power between the flywheel to the driven shaft. You see here, the always this spring force is to exert the force to continuously retain its engagement between the flywheel and the driven shaft. It means that once the engine power is to be continuously transferred to the driven shaft by means of engaging of this clutch plate. So once it is to be disengaged, the power is not to be transferred from the engine shaft to the driven shaft. Then another form of the clutch is the cone clutch. In the cone clutch, the shape of the element which has to be used in the clutch is here. It is a cone shape, that is it is cone shape we are using, so that it's named as the cone clutch. It is very similar to the single plate clutch, and this is a conical shape will be engaging to the inclined power transmission unit, so that we are going they are designing as the cone clutch. So these are the main types of clutches, that is the frictional clutches used in the automobile sector. Then we are going to discuss the another type of clutch is called as hydraulic clutch. In the hydraulic clutch, we are using the oil as a medium to actuate or execute the clutch action. In previously, in the frictional clutch, we are using as a spring force. It is used to execute or actuate the clutch action to transfer the power from driver shaft to driven shaft. In case of hydraulic clutch, we are using oil is the medium to actuate the clutch action. In the main components of the hydraulic clutch is a master and slave cylinders, fork lever, and the diaphragm. So this diaphragm is to be a very important component to engage and disengaging of clutch while transferring the power from one shaft to the another shaft. We are discussing the working principle of the hydraulic clutch is when a vehicle is running, the clutch is in the engaged position. During that time, this diaphragm is to be kept in a straight manner. It is not forming in a conical shape. It means that when the driver presses the clutch pedal, the piston of the master cylinder forces the fluid. It causes fluid to flow from master cylinder to the slave cylinder through the hoses. Through these hoses. When the fluid is entered into the slave cylinder, the piston rod from the slave cylinders is moves out in this direction. It moves out. So due to the movement of this slave cylinder action, this fork lever position is to be when this action is to be taken here and the fork moves in this direction, which causes this bearing setup is to be pushes the diaphragm and it is formed the conical shape. Due to this action of the slave cylinder piston, this frictional areas moves towards to the right. So whenever you are going to apply the force through the slave cylinder, so along the direction this frictional plate is to be moved. So due to this effect of the frictional movement or frictional plate movement to the right direction, towards to the right direction, this disengage, the engaged of flywheel and the frictional plate will be disengaged, because in usual condition it is these are the flywheel and the frictional material, that is the clutch material, and the diaphragm setup is to be is in actually engaged condition while you are going to apply the force through the master cylinder, that is you are going to press this pedal. So this slave cylinder moves the piston towards right hand side so that this diaphragm moves towards right, then the disengaging action is to be carried out. So due to the disengaging, there is no power transmitted from the drive shaft to the driven shaft. Whereas you are releasing the applied pressure over the pedal, then automatically this slave cylinder piston it is moves towards left hand direction. Due to this movement, this fork is to be moves towards to the left direction. Sorry, it's a left direction, and this will cause us this material diaphragm goes to in case of the straight. So during this pressure is to be applied over the frictional material, and due to this effect of this friction, these three flywheel and frictional material are to be engaged. Under this condition, the power from the flywheel is transferred to the driven shaft. So as compared with the frictional clutch, here you are going to use as the cylinder and oil is used to execute the action of the clutch element. So it is entirely different from the frictional clutch. In the frictional clutch, we are going to use the frictional force applied over the frictional surfaces by means of springing action in a frictional clutch. Whereas in case of hydraulic clutch, we are going to use as the oil is the medium to execute the clutch action through the slave cylinder and master cylinder. So this is the major difference between the frictional clutch and hydraulic clutch. Then let me discuss just the last one as the electromagnetic clutch. In the electromagnetic clutch, the electromagnetic field is used to execute the clutching action. So this is the electromagnetic clutch, and here in the flywheel they are using as the electrical winding in the flywheel. This is as an electrical winding. It is to be fixed over the flywheel. When the power source from the battery to the windings, it execute the magnetic field, or the magnetic field is to be developed. So based on the effect of electromagnetic field, there is engaging and disengaging of the clutch will carried out. Then we are going to discuss about the working principle of electromagnetic clutch. The winding used in the clutch carries the current from the battery. The current forms a magnetic field around the winding. You see here, this is the magnetic winding. Sorry, the winding is to be provided in the magnetic field. So due to this, energized by means of supplying of the power from the battery. Due to the magnetic field, the pressure plate moves towards to the flywheel. Once the magnetic field is to be generated here, this pressure plate is to be moved towards to the flywheel. That means towards to the flywheel means it is moves left hand side, which means to engaging of the clutching devices. The power is to be transferred from the flywheel to the driven shaft. Whereas the driver pushes the clutch or the pedal, the current stops flowing from the battery to the winding. So automatically the magnetic field is to be cut off, because the magnetic field always to be generated by means of supplying of the power from the battery. So once your pedal is to be pressed, there is no power is to be sent to the winding coil which is placed in the flywheel. So due to this, the magnetic field, there is no magnetic field EMF. So no magnetic field is to be generated. So due to this, this pressure plate is to be moves away from the flywheel or right hand side as compared to the flywheel, that is opposite direction to the flywheel. So this causes disengaging of the clutch plate to the flywheel, which result as there is no power is to be transferred from power source or engine shaft to the driven shaft. So these are the main topics which we have to cover today about the clutch material. The main function of the clutch is engaging or disengaging. It indirectly says that the power has to be transferred from the engine shaft to the driven shaft through the clutch element only. So this clutch element action is to be controlled by means of driver. So this is the topic is to be over today. uh, we will discuss another topic in next week. Thank you.